these around, it is a little tight fit, or it will be. As you come in, one of the things to take note of, one of the most difficult pieces that we had, one of the most difficult pieces of the construction of this store that we had to deal with was the lighting. The lighting for the cases, the lighting for the store. You know, how do you make it so that you can light all of these books properly? And if you'll hit that light switch right there for me, how do you make that happen without driving the heat up inside that case to a place where the books will just literally fry and all of the pages will crumble? If you'll hit that light again for me, please. How do you make it so that we don't create hot boxes, little greenhouses? Some of it has to do with humidity, a lot of it has to do with modern technology, and that is that inside each one of these cases we use zero heat LED lights that are very costly a piece, but they're supposed to last for a long time, so we'll see. But they run on a track system. It is you know, a newer technology, and it is something that's you're really gonna see a lot more of, I think, in homes, not just in museums or businesses. So this room, first editions of anything in a glass case, by the way, is special for one reason or another. It may only be worth $20, but to us it's special for something, for some reason. A first edition copy of The Godfather, 1972. You know, what do you give to the guy who has everything? And you know, a nice first edition copy of somebody's favorite movie, The Godfather, is a great Christmas gift, or you know, yada yada, you name it, birthday gift. It's also a tremendous genre in collecting. People collect books turned to film, and that's what that whole case is. Shoeless Joe, first edition, signed by the author, and that became the movie Field of Dreams. Interview the Vampire, Indecent Proposal, Planet of the Apes, The Princess Bride, one of my favorites. An incredibly hard book to find, actually, The Princess Bride, the first edition. Breakfast at Tiffany's, probably the hardest to find book in that case, and I don't have it displayed prominently, but it comes with that case that you see. We specially create those clamshell boxes to hold the book. If somebody's going to spend $2,000 on a rare book, I want to make them a case, because you'll get something a little extra to take it home in. That is one of the most sought after books in this room. The Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Really?
Truman Capote, the first edition of the book form. In about 8 years of being in this business and doing this, hunting books, that's the nicest condition copy I've ever seen. Most of them are really faded because that orange just didn't hold up over the years. You know, moving over, you've got first edition signed limited edition copies of books by George Harrison, David Bowie, Hugh Hefner, Dwight Eisenhower, Stephen King, George Bush. There's a whole mix. These are books that are created specifically for collectors, really. At the same time that a regular book, what we would call a trade hardcover book, is printed, occasionally people will put together signed limited editions, and they're these beautiful, big, large versions. You know, a lot of money and time and artistic talent is put into creating these collector's editions. A lot of people don't know that it happens, but it's happened for literally centuries, and it still does today. Moving around books, this set of books by Charles Dickens is a more recent set of Charles Dickens works. It's a $2,000 set of books, but I'll tell you, the only reason why that set is worth $2,000, because they are new books, is because they're bound the way they're bound. That set was bound at the show bindery at Colonial Williamsburg, where you go daily and you can see the craftsmen. Well, they actually sell that product after those guys, you know, work on it all day. And we were lucky enough to snatch up the set. So.
Did they print the pages too?
No. What happened is, that's why the books inside them are newer books. They're like from the 1970s. Oh, okay. And they're like, the set would be worth maybe $30, really. But the value to take it from $30 to $2,000 is the fact that they're all hand bound at Colonial Williamsburg. You know, people actually did that, and it's just incredible. Religious text, this case, the earliest book we have on display, we have a few earlier, but the earliest book we have on display is actually, in this case, It is this smaller leather book you see. It doesn't have any labeling whatsoever, and it was printed in the year 1589, and it is the Geneva Bible.
Can you see it?
You may actually. And I'm
I
gonna
think it never hurts to ask.
Okay,
I'm not gonna touch it, but.
so I'm touching the newer end paper, but if you come, this would have been the original title page, and it actually is dated 1589.
That's incredible. Y'all need to come look at this. This is amazing.
Throughout, and there are random pages with some text throughout.
What
I
kind
mean,
of type is
some
that,
handwritten.
guys? I don't remember what the type is. Yes, you do.
It's so small.
Texture. Remember the picket
Really
fence? The Gothic picket fence looking type? Extra. Don't come around and look at this.
It's really interesting.
Oh, in the 1500s. So that's 16th
Somebody's
century.
original ownership name, what remains of it at least.
Wow.
Somewhat faded. Okay, anybody else? So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
It's incredible.
We have a couple of books that are earlier, as I said, but those don't, as a general rule, come out for display at any time. We have some really nice handwritten texts. We have some really nice. I have one nice illuminated Quran actually, and we believe that it dates to about 1450 or 60.
That's not out where we can see it.
No. And I don't have it cataloged. I'm happy to share pictures with you via email whenever we get it out and get it cataloged.
That'd be terrific.
Yeah. So we're going to move on, and that, another signed limited edition, John Steinbeck's first editions of the classics, Grapes of Wrath, East of Eden, modern classics, Ulysses, Hemingway, Old Man in the Sea, Tennessee Williams, you name it. Signed
Is that a
limited.
first edition of Peter Pan and Wendy?
It's an early edition. It's not a first.
edition.
No. This is technically considered a first edition Huckleberry Finn.
No, mine doesn't look like that.
That is
Mine's smaller than that.
1885. Of the 13, and I believe I'm correct, but it's 13 total issue points that we were talking about errors in the book. This one has about 5 of them. I have one other copy here in the store, and it has, I believe, 10, and it's about as early as I've ever had. But it looks the same. You just got to know what to look for on the inside, and the difference in price is incredible.
I have a feeling I'm going to be your new best friend because before I tear anything up, I'm going to be bringing it over to you just to make sure.
So there you go. I mean, if we can save it, then we'll try. And any other questions, I'm happy to ask. The Shakespeare set that's in this case is the earliest Shakespeare set we have.
This looks so old.
Late 1700s. Samuel Johnson was one of the most, he was a writer, but he was one of the most famous people to ever edit the works of Shakespeare. And a lot of, almost all Shakespeare's that you see today are the Johnson edited editions. And that's the second time that his edited editions were ever printed. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything else here.
What's in
There
the
is-
case here?
There is one other book that I really want you guys to see in that case. In the case here, it's a functional case, old
Oh.
magazines that people come in for 10, 20 bucks a piece, and they buy them for whatever purpose, old newspapers. These I really love. Whenever I can buy hordes of old newspapers. I try to, and we got lucky. They all date to the late 1700s, and they are original papers. And
That's handmade paper there.
and they're sellable. They sell for 40 to 60 bucks as a general rule, unless we can tag down that something in particular happened and there's something very special inside the paper. They're like $50 items.
We made paper, but it's more like cardboard.
Cardstock.
Not that.
Yeah, it's pretty thick.
Yeah, it's real thick. That's nice paper.
Um, Signed limited edition of the Democratic Book 1936. Inside there is an artistic rendition of the White House that was drawn by Franklin Roosevelt, who was an artist
Really?
himself. It's a great piece, and he signed and numbered 1,000 copies of the Democratic Book, and that's one of them. They were campaign items. Same thing with this. This is Ronald Reagan. Inside this oak box, I think it's oak, maybe walnut, but I think that's oak. There's a leather-bound edition of his book, An American Life. They made 2,000 of them, and he signed and numbered them. And they gave them to campaign contributors who donated huge amounts of money to the Republican National Committee. This book, this piece in particular, is a print. There were about 100 of these made. They are commemorative prints that Franklin Roosevelt had printed of his second inauguration, at which he had a facade built on the White House grounds of the Hermitage, the Andrew Jackson home place. They built as I understand it, they built a fake front of the Andrew Jackson home place, and he wanted to commemorate that. The second inauguration of President Franklin Roosevelt in front of the reproduction of the Hermitage. This particular copy, all of the 100 prints went to FDR. He gave them to family and friends, as I understand it. This one is signed for Anna from her father. It was FDR's daughter, and that was her print from the second inauguration. And this is him holding Anna in one of the earliest known pictures of the two of them, before he was stricken with polio and ended up in a wheelchair forever. And we actually elected a man president who was in a wheelchair, which would never happen today, I don't think.
He tried to keep it a secret, though.
He did, absolutely. But in today's day,
No,
unfortunately,
we
we
know
just,
everything.
yeah. Andrew Jackson's signed document here. This is a land grant. Jackson is very famous in the autograph world for his land grants because he signed a ton of them. Another nice Andrew Jackson piece around the corner. It is actually signed by Jackson. We'll see a few more of those in the back. If we'll mosey on back, maybe we'll get to that little area.